I remember meeting Avery last year, I think during the Current Events Club, and I continue to be struck by what I call a quiet dignity that I think that Avery projects. It's not always easy to get to know her, to interact, but one of the things I really enjoyed about this Me project was I did get a chance to really work one-on-one with Avery and get to see her smile a little bit. It really gives me pleasure when I see her out interacting with her close friends, and when she does smile, she looks very serious. So, but it is nice to see her smile, and it was nice for me to smile while I work with her, and I think you'll do a lot of smiling when you hear her Me project. Avery Jackson.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Wayne Gretzky. For some reason, finding a quote for the speech was really hard. I'd originally chosen a random Oprah Winfrey quote that I thought would be fine to use to get me through the speech. One day, I was opening up Sportsy on my phone and this quote had appeared. I read it over a few times and thought this would be the perfect quote to choose. I would say throughout my whole middle school experience, I've lived by this quote. This quote emphasizes the importance of seizing opportunities and taking action because you'll never know the outcome or what will happen until you try. I would like to consider myself a very athletic person. I love to play sports, exercise, and train. I've been playing sports since a very young age. I played soccer, cross country, volleyball, and gymnastics. I actually love gymnastics and don't know why I stopped. It was probably a good thing I stopped though because I might be too tall for it now. Most recently, during middle school, I swam. I swam, played tennis, and basketball. I've been doing tennis on and off for about 3 years now, starting in 6th grade. I personally like tennis for the social aspect of it rather than the physical. I've created many great friendships through tennis, from school clinics to summer tennis camps. I've also created great relationships with my tennis coaches. I'm so thankful for them and so glad they were the ones that taught me the basics of tennis. Lastly, I most recently played basketball. As a tall person my whole life, I've always gotten comments like, "You're so tall, how tall are you?" or "You're so tall, how tall are your parents?" And they almost always followed up with, "Do you play basketball?" Honestly, I get these comments everywhere, from friends to strangers at Kroger and Target, even at family gatherings. At this point, I've kind of gotten used to it. I thought about it and asked myself, why do I not play basketball? I'm so tall, how hard could it be? When winter sports rolled around this year, I decided to sign myself up. At the beginning of basketball season, I was very naive and honestly thought that basketball was as simple as running up and down the court, shooting, and playing defense and offense. I was wrong. I had a lot of learning to do. I had to learn presses, press breaks, inbound plays, 2-3 zones, man-to-man. I had to learn all the names of the inbound plays and different offensive plays. I had to learn how to properly shoot the ball and how to guard someone without getting called for a foul. There were many times in the season when I wanted to give up because I either had a lot going on or because I simply didn't like basketball or the idea of having to go to practice and learn something new. But I'm so glad my mom convinced me to continue through this season because basketball has taught me so much. One thing basketball has taught me is that leadership is a choice. It doesn't matter if you're a captain, the coach, or the most talented player, or the least talented player. You can make a positive difference with your attitude, actions, and relationships. Leadership is a mindset to be a positive influence no matter what your title, position, or rank is. I'd also like to say I'm not at all good at basketball, and there's a 99% chance I will never play basketball again. But I would like to thank Ms. Teratani Muscon for allowing me to play. Thank you for teaching me many new things about basketball. Even though you might have gotten frustrated because I forgot to press in the game or didn't get the easy rebound, I'm forever grateful for your dedication and hours you put in to help our team improve and get better. Math has never really been a struggle for me until this year. I've always loved the class, and I'm sure I always will, but this year has definitely been the most challenging and hardest class I've ever taken. At the beginning of 4th grade, I began a program called RSM, Russian School of Mathematics. At that time, I was really unhappy about having to do it because I was a 9-year-old doing 6 hours of what seemed like unnecessary math each week. Eventually, when I got into collegiate for 6th grade, I had to take a math placement test. I asked my mother to make a deal with me. If I was placed in the highest math class, I wouldn't have to continue RSM. Luckily for me, I got into Algebra A. From what I can remember, Algebra A wasn't that hard, considering it was my first middle school math class, and I had never done algebra before. In Algebra A, we were developing skills to help us in Algebra B, which I took in 7th grade. The beginning of Algebra B was a bit of a rough start, but I was able to catch along pretty quickly and in each quarter with decent grades. This year has been a struggle. I've had a struggle jumping from algebra to geometry. I could definitely say I preferred algebra over geometry, and I'm sad the only algebra we get to do is our simple solutions. Geometry is a bit trickier because it requires a different way of thinking compared to other math subjects. Geometry requires you to use more of your logical skills instead of the analytical thinking used in algebra. It's been a struggle for me to fully understand the material and then apply it to quizzes and tests we take in class. The first 3 math tests I had taken for this class, I got a 70 on each of them. After this, I noticed my motivation began to slip away. I was not only unmotivated to try and understand the material, but I was also unmotivated to go to math class and put in the work. I found myself not listening to instructions sometimes and putting in little effort to do things like entrance slips. It took me a little to realize that just because math came easier to me doesn't mean it always will. This is a problem I had to deal with myself. I had changed my mindset, and even though this class continues to progressively get harder, I continue to consistently work hard in this class and try my best. I've always been a very quiet, shy, and introverted person. This is why joining a church has really been allowing me to continue to come out my bubble. Last year, my family and I joined a new church called Burnett Avenue Baptist Church. We've attended many different churches before, but we felt at home at Burnett. Our church does an inside outreach day of service every November. This past November, we volunteered with other church members at a local homeless shelter downtown. We hoped to prepare and serve food for people who needed it. That experience has taught me a lot. One, it was a very humbling experience just to realize how grateful I am to eat food and be financially stable. I find that I tend to take things like this for granted. I also love this volunteering experience because my family and I got to meet other church members that we don't normally have an opportunity to talk with. We now look forward to seeing our new church friends every Sunday. I always enjoy my pastor's sermon every Sunday. I look up to my pastor, Pastor Scholl, because his messages always encourage me as a teenager navigating life. I think I also enjoy the social aspect of church because most of the time socially I'm always around younger people, usually my age, but at church there's a wide range of ages that I get to interact with. Every time I go to church on Sunday or participate in a Bible study, I always look forward to talking to new people and even meeting some new people. Swimming has been a big part of my life since I was very little. When I was very young, around the age of 5, I was put into swim classes for the YMCA. I then began private swimming lessons for a few years at Blairwood. After a few years, I eventually got to the age and level where my coach thought it would be good if I joined stroke school, which is the preparation and development of a swimmer for competitions. This program taught me to refine my strokes, plus starts, turns, and turns. I then swam for Mary T. Aquatic Center for a year or two. I've also swam on Blairwood swim team for a few years. I think at the time it was more about the practice than it was a competition. I would say I didn't start competitive swimming until middle school. During the first year of middle school, I was very hesitant to swim for collegiate, so I didn't do it. The following year, though, I did sign up. Between summer swim team and 7th grade, I hadn't swam for a while and was a little rusty. But with practice, I got back into the hang of things. I also swam for the collegiate swim team this year and would say this is the most competitive season I've ever swam. This year's a lot harder, though, because I was balancing swimming with basketball. After about 3.5 months of practicing and training, I went to the JCPS Middle School Championships. I was very proud of myself because I got 3rd in breaststroke overall and 7th in 100 freestyle. After championships, Ms. Bunn and Coach Kobe, the other varsity swim coach for collegiate, asked me if I wanted to swim for collegiate varsity. I was a little hesitant at first because I was still doing basketball and knew how hard it was to balance both sports. But I decided to go for it and do both basketball and swimming at the same time. I swam on varsity for about 2 months. I personally love swimming for varsity. I love the people who swim on the team, the challenges of the practices, and the opportunities that came with it. One of them being regionals. Regionals is a very intimidating and humbling experience. I have never swum on that level, nor with people with that much swimming experience. At regionals, I was put into 4 events. I advanced to regional finals with 1 individual event and a relay. I didn't make it to state for the individual, but my relay with 3 of the girls on the team did. Unfortunately, the relay had to be pulled. Overall, swimming for varsity and going to regionals was such an inspirational experience for me. It made me realize how much I love the sport and how I wanted to continue swimming throughout high school and hopefully college. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If someone were to ask me what I've learned from middle school, I would tell them this quote. If I didn't play basketball, I would not have learned all the things I did. If I did not join a new church, I would not have met the people I'm now friends with today. If I did not swim varsity, I would not have found my love for swimming. I'd like to dedicate this speech to my parents. Thank you for being 2 people I can rely on, and thank you for always caring for me. Thank you for guiding me in the right direction and always putting up with my good swings. I would not be here, nor would I be the same person I am without you both. I would like to dedicate this speech to Ms. Wayman because she's made such a big impact on my education, but also me as a person. I was so lucky to have her as an advisor last year. I connected with her so easily and learned so much from her. You're always someone I can go to talk to if I need to. I would like to dedicate this speech to Ms. Bunn, who has been my swim coach for the past 2 years. She has coached me for middle school swim this year and varsity swim as well. She was the one who encouraged me to swim in varsity. She gave me the opportunity to swim at regionals, and if it weren't for her, I would not have found my love for swimming. Ms. Bunn pushed me to do things outside my comfort zone, but they ended up being some of the best accomplishments of my life. Thank you.